Maple collector here. Today I'm going to talk about Linearlobum Japanese maples. Linearlobum Japanese maples are also called strap leaf or bamboo leaf style Japanese maples. This one here is Beniotaki. This one has, for Linearlobum, has fairly wide lobes. They range from thin to wide. The thinnest being green, called fairy hair, which is kind of challenging to keep for most people. This is a good strong tree. I have this one trained to have a higher crown. It doesn't normally grow that way. It's a little more bushy, but it's one of the larger red Linearlobums. It holds its color fairly well. I mean, it does get green, especially as you can see here. This is a more shaded area. It'll also green out a little bit if you have a high heat where you live. But it always keeps kind of it always keeps some cast of red to it. I really like this one. Some people have trouble with it reverting, where it actually throws off regular palmatum leaves, and for whatever reason they don't come back on this one. I haven't experienced that. I think sometimes things like that happen when the soil is too rich. Just like variegated maples, they tend to revert. You'll also see a lot of Linearlobums on their new growth throw out larger lobed leaves, and that's normal. The following year the leaves are thinner, but they're all a little bit different on how that works. I've noticed with Beniotaki, the newer leaves are larger, but they never get real thin. Let's see if I can find some older leaves. There you go. That's about as thin as Beniotaki gets. So, good tree. Give it space if you're going to plant it in the landscape. I have this one in a 45-gallon fabric pot. When trees get too large, I'll either, if I want them to continue to get larger, I'll put them into fabric pots usually, or put them into the ground. I don't have a lot of space to do that though. Some trees they'll reach a size and I don't want them to get any larger, so I just root prune them and keep them in the same pot. So there's Beniotaki. Here we have a favorite of many people for good reason. It's a medium-sized growing tree. I would say moderate grower. Although this one this year has put on more than a foot in a lot of the areas, or a lot of the branches. You can see here, this is new growth, so large it is. Oh, by the way, this is Koto no Ito. Green strap leaf, green Linearlobum. And then the smaller leaves are very thin. One of the thinner Linearlobums. There are a few others too. Kinshi. The thinnest ones seem to be the green ones. You can find reds with thin strap leaves too, but not as thin as this usually. Not as thin as Koto no Ito. I really like that look, especially when they get larger. It's a very graceful tree. Acer palmatum Koto no Ito. Also, Koto no Ito doesn't revert as far as I know. I have not seen it revert. People think it's reverting, and that's just the new growth. Next year that will be thinner, and each consecutive year it actually gets even thinner to a certain point. You know, the thinnest ones on here, that's about as thin as they go. This one is a new one to me. It's not, I mean, I've seen it. I've actually wanted it for a very long time, but it's not that easy to find. This is Fukunaga. It's one of the color changing type of Linearlobums. Villa Toronto is another one like that, and there are a few others. This one has fairly small leaves on it, and but the lobes are much shorter, and they're pretty even throughout. This is my first year with it, so I don't really know if it throws out larger lobed leaves or not, but it's pictures I've seen and from what I've read, I don't believe it does. It stays fairly consistent. Another neat thing about this one is it comes out with green leaves, and the stems are very dark purple, almost black, which is pretty unique. There's a nice contrast between the leaves. This one changes colors. It goes, as you can see now, it's actually turning kind of a yellow color. So I haven't had it long enough to tell you exactly what color changes it has, but I know I think it changes about 4 different colors from spring to fall. So I'm really liking this one. Here's a smaller one. It seems to be fairly slow growing too. I got this one as a liner. This is my 3rd spring with it, I believe. Maybe it's only my 2nd spring. I think it's my 3rd though. And this one is Incan. I asked a lot of people, asked around trying to find the red maple with the thinnest lobes, and some people say Punkhill, other people say Hub's red willow. I was at a nursery and I saw a larger one of these Incans. It was about maybe 4 or 5 feet tall, had really nice structure, and all the leaves on it were thin. So that's what sold me on this one. It seems to hold its color pretty good, even if it doesn't get a lot of sun. It can handle the sun. Probably its leaves stay darker in the sun. But I've noticed here it gets midday sun. I would say it gets sun from 11 to maybe 1 or 2, and the rest of the day it's shaded. So Incan, it's good. See, the newer growth does have some whiter leaves on it. Older growth is pretty thin. So this one is a red with thinner lobes on the leaves. Incan. So this one's hidden under a bunch of other maples. This is Atrolineare. This one actually comes out red if it gets more sun, and then ends up turning really dark, almost black red. And but then as the summer progresses, it turns green again with kind of some reddish highlights. If I remember correctly, it has a really nice red fall color. I actually like the color of it in the shade. It comes out kind of a light reddish color, light red and green in the spring, and then as it gets closer to summer, as you can see, it turns green, with new shoots being kind of a peachish red color. So I really honestly didn't have any place to put this one. I'm kind of running out of space, so that's why I put it back here. But I actually like its shade color for Atrolineare. I think a lot of people, this is one of the older Linearlobums that you'll see. Most people prefer other cultivars just because they retain their color better than this one. But personally, I like the ones that change color. If I can get a season with it being red and a season with it being green and a season with it being yellow, I kind of like those kind. So anyway, this one doesn't have overly thin lobes, but they're long lobes. Acer palmatum atrilineare. So there are a lot of other Linearlobums out there. Greens, there's, oh, I can't even think of them right now. But anyway, so I mean, take your pick of the litter. But these are the ones I have, and this one I found at a place. I think it was an Orchard Supply Hardware a while back. I managed to keep this one fairly small. This one gets a little bit bigger. That's the only reason that I really bought Atrilineare to begin with. And I thought it was a Villa Toronto when I bought it because they had the labels all mixed up. But now I'm pretty sure it's Atrilineare. So Biniotake was one of my earlier purchases, the big one. I just got it because I wanted a red Linearlobum. And then the Fukunaga, that one was a little bit more thought out, as was Incan. I wanted those specifically for their traits. So anyway, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Please subscribe, like, and I will talk to you. See you soon.